Welcome to Threads of Truth, the podcast where real life mysteries meet internet speculation. Today we ask, how does someone vanish from a crash site in front of witnesses and leave no trace? Just try and picture this with me for a second. It's February 2004, bitterly cold, The kind of deep New Hampshire winter where the snow is heavy, the air just stings. We're talking about a really desolate stretch of Route 112. It's this winding rural road, cuts right through the White Mountains. Pretty unforgiving territory. Dusk is setting in, visibility is dropping fast. Everything's kind of blue and gray. It's quiet. Isolated almost. And into the scene drives Maura Murray. She's 21 years old, a college athlete studying nursing at UMass Amherst. She's in her black Saturn sedan. Then suddenly her car goes off the road. Sharp turn, maybe ice. We don't know exactly why. It ends up in a snowbank. Now here's where it gets, well, really chilling. Witnesses see her there, briefly, standing by the car. Doesn't seem hurt, but then literally within minutes, Maura Murray is just gone, vanished. The car's still there, damaged. But the driver, nowhere. Like something out of a book, right? But for her family, this has been their reality for, 2 decades now?
Exactly. And that's precisely what makes this case so enduringly perplexing. 20 years on, and we still have absolutely no idea where she is. It's this void. And it's not just that she vanished, it's the how. The details right at the scene just make the puzzle deeper. We know her bags were packed in the car, like she was going somewhere, right? Intentionally, maybe? Yet no visible signs of injury, even after hitting a snowbank hard enough to disable the car. That's odd in itself. And then the timing. The really critical, almost unbelievable part. She disappears within just a few minutes of that crash before the first police officer even gets there. Think about that. She was there. Witnesses saw her. Then, poof, she wasn't. This isn't just, another missing person file. It's a vanishing act. And yeah, as you expect, it's generated massive speculation online. Message boards, forums, theories run the gamut. Everything from her choosing to disappear, maybe starting a new life, to, something much more darker. Foul play.
Right. So, young woman, crashed car, snowy road, gone in minutes. What does it all add up to? And why does this case still grip people so tightly after all this time? That's what we're diving into today. We want to tackle those core questions. Was this planned? Did she just want out? Or was it a terrible accident? Did she wander off, confused, and succumb to the cold? That's a possibility too. Or was it something sinister, something she couldn't control that happened right there on that dark road? We're going to explore how internet sleuths, the online communities, are still fiercely debating all this. They dissect every single clue, every theory. It's a case that really shows the power and sometimes the pitfalls of online investigation. So let's unpack it. Okay, let's start by understanding Maura's life before that night. Who was she? Often called Mo by people close to her. By all accounts, she was really promising. Smart, athletic, she was a runner, cross-country, and studying nursing at UMass Amherst. That's a tough program. Her background suggests someone disciplined, focused, grew up in Massachusetts, supportive family from what we know. She excelled academically, athletically. She even got into West Point, which is, incredibly competitive.
Huge deal, yeah.
Right. She only stayed about a year and a half before transferring to UMass, but just getting in says a lot about her. She wasn't someone just drifting. She had goals, a path. But then, in the weeks just before she disappeared, it seems like, cracks started appearing in that structure.
Cracks is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Because despite that outward image of stability, the weeks leading up to February 9th definitely show signs of significant emotional distress. It wasn't just a bad mood. Something was clearly weighing on her. Like just 4 days before she vanished, February 5th, she was at her campus job. She was an RA, I think.
Yeah, resident assistant.
Right. And she apparently got a phone call about her sister, Kathleen, who's struggling with relapse. And Maura just burst into tears right there at work. It showed this raw emotional vulnerability that maybe wasn't always visible. Not just upset, like deeply fragile. This wasn't the composed Maura everyone thought they knew.
And then it escalates, doesn't it? Just 2 days before she goes missing, February 8th, another incident. More alarming, maybe. She borrowed her dad's car, a new Toyota Corolla, went to a party, and then around 3:30 in the morning, driving in Hadley, Massachusetts, she crashes it. Hits a guardrail.
Heavy damage, too, apparently.
Right, significant damage. But here's a detail that always gets people talking online. She wasn't ticketed. No charges. Nothing. Her dad, Fred, came, picked her up, took her to his motel. So you've got the sequence, the distress over her sister, then this serious crash with no consequences. It really suggests this escalating turmoil in those final days. It sets a very strange stage for what happens next, doesn't it? What do you make of that lead up? Is she spiraling? Or just stressed?
Well, it's absolutely crucial context, isn't it? Those incidents, they are key to trying to understand her mindset. And honestly, you could read them multiple ways. That's why it's so debated. The car crash, especially, not getting charged. Maybe the officer was sympathetic. Maybe her dad smoothed things over. We don't know. But for Maura, it's another big stressor piled on. And that pressure seems to have turned into a very deliberate, though very secret, plan on the Monday she disappeared, February 9th. Her behavior that day was odd, secretive, definitely not her normal routine. She didn't go to her nursing classes. Instead, she started packing up her dorm room, meticulously, not just throwing things in a bag, boxing up clothes, textbook stuff, as student needs, personal items. It looks like she was preparing for a long absence, or at least not planning on coming back to that room anytime soon. It feels premeditated.
Okay, so she's packing like she's leaving.
Exactly. And then she adds another layer. At 1:24 p.m., she sends an email to her work supervisor at the nursing school. And the email is basically a lie. She claims she'll be out of town for a week because of a death in the family.
Which wasn't true.
Completely false. Her family confirmed later there was no death. So it's a deliberate fabrication, a calculated move to explain her absence without raising immediate alarms. Why lie like that? What was she trying to avoid? It's a cover story designed to buy her time.
Okay, so the lie gives her cover. What else happens that afternoon?
Her actions stay very precise, very purposeful. Around 3:40 p.m., she's caught on security video at an ATM, withdraws $280 in cash. The video shows she's alone. That's important.
Right.
Then right after that, she stops at a liquor store, buys alcohol, liquor, and wine. So the cash, the booze, it suggests preparation for something. A trip, a meeting, we don't know. Then, 4 p.m. sharp, she leaves Amherst. In her own car this time, the 96 Saturn, the one that crashes later. Her last known cell phone activity, a call, is recorded at 4:37 p.m. The details of who she called or what was said aren't fully public, privacy reasons maybe, but that timestamp is critical. That's her last confirmed contact before the mystery really begins.
And this is where it gets really unsettling for me. After that call, 4:37 p.m., Maura Murray tells absolutely no one where she's going. No one. In today's world, that's almost unthinkable, right? But she just packs, gets cash, buys alcohol, gets in her car, and drives north. No destination shared. Not visiting family, not a planned break. She just heads into rural New Hampshire. Sparsely populated, tough roads, especially in winter. This total lack of communication, this secrecy. It's one of the most baffling parts. It fuels all the speculation about her intentions, what was she running from or maybe running towards. It doesn't feel like an impulsive decision after the crash. This part feels planned.
Precisely. That unexplained solo journey ends with the crash. Shortly after 7 p.m. that evening, her Saturn goes off Route 112. It's a tricky road, dark, cold, probably icy. There's a sharp bend there, known locally as the S-turn. Conditions are definitely a factor. A local resident, Faith Westman, lived nearby. She heard the crash, looked out, saw the Saturn stuck in a snowbank. That's our first eyewitness pacing Maura in the car there.
Okay, so someone sees the immediate aftermath.
Yes. And then moments later, a school bus driver comes along. A man known in the case files and online discussions as Butch Atwood. He stops to help. And what he saw and reported is absolutely critical. He sees a young woman, identified as Maura, outside the car. She looks cold, shivering, shaken up, obviously.
That's understandable.
But when Butch offers help, Maura's reaction is, well, it's startling.
What?
And suspicious, frankly. She refuses help. But more than that, she pleads with him not to call the police.
Wow. Okay. Why?
We don't know for sure, but she gives him a false story. Claims she already called roadside assistance, AAA specifically. But later checks confirmed. AAA had no record of any call from her, so it was a lie.
Another lie.
Another lie. She insists she's fine, doesn't need help. Butch is concerned, obviously.
Yeah.
He sees someone potentially hurt, car crash, refusing help. So he leaves. He drives a short distance to make a 911 call from a phone nearby, because cell service was spotty or maybe non-existent there then. He makes that call at 7:42 p.m. And that action, while totally reasonable, necessary even, accidentally creates the window for Maura to disappear.
And it's such a small window because the police arrive incredibly quickly, right?
Astonishingly quickly for a rural area. The first officer's on scene at 7:46 p.m., just 4 minutes after Butch's call.
4 minutes.
She's gone.
Yeah.
Utterly vanished. The car is there, stuck in the snowbank, damaged, silent. But the driver, Maura, gone.
It's just unbelievable. Seem moments before, actively refusing help, and then evaporates in less time than it takes to boil water.
Exactly. And the police immediately start searching the area around the car. What they find, or rather don't find, just adds to the puzzle. They find one single set of footprints leading from the driver's side door, heading towards the woods nearby, just one set.
One set, like she just walked away and no struggle, no second person.
Nothing to indicate anyone else was there, just her footprints heading towards the trees.
And inside the car, what about all the stuff she packed?
Untouched, seemingly undisturbed. Those boxes of clothes, her textbooks, personal items, all still there.
Which is so weird, isn't it? If you plan to run away, why leave all your supplies? If you were abducted, wouldn't things be disturbed? It doesn't fit either scenario cleanly.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Profoundly counterintuitive for a planned escape. And it doesn't quite fit abduction either, unless it happened incredibly fast right beside the car.
And then there's the digital silence. You mentioned she didn't have a cell phone, which was maybe less common but not unheard of for a student then.
Right, no phone on her person. But more importantly, absolute zero activity after the crash. No credit card use, no bank withdrawals or transfers, nothing.
For 20 years.
20 years of complete digital silence. It's like she ceased to exist, not just physically, but in the entire connected world. That absolute lack of any trace, physical or digital, is what makes this case so uniquely haunting.
So what happened right after? The search efforts must have been massive.
Oh, they were. Immediately.
Yeah.
Dozens of volunteers, state troopers, K-9 units, they combed those snowy woods day and night in brutal conditions. These were extensive professional searches, but they found absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. No scrap of clothing, no more footprints.
Zero. It was as if she vanished into thin air, right there on the roadside. And not finding anything, especially given the harsh weather, it would be incredibly hard to survive out there without gear. That lack of any discovery is deeply confounding.
So where does that leave the official investigation now?
Well, officially, the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit classifies her disappearance as suspicious. That's a shift from the early days. Initially, as we discussed, police leaned towards voluntary disappearance. Because of the packing, the email lie, the cash, it seemed plausible she just walked away.
But that changed.
It had to, really. As years passed, with zero sign of her anywhere, no money used, no contact, nothing, the voluntary theory became harder and harder to sustain. So now the official lean is more towards foul play, or at least an involuntary disappearance. The thinking is, it's just almost impossible to vanish that completely for 2 decades in the modern world if you're alive and chose to leave. And that's where things stand. Over 20 years later, no trace of Maura, no definitive answers, just this enduring, absolute silence. And that silence, that's what fuels the internet.
Yeah, that vacuum of information is exactly where the online true crime communities step in, isn't it? They've taken this case and just run with it, generating dozens, maybe hundreds of theories. Some seem plausible based on the facts we have. Others get pretty out there, bizarre even. You see it everywhere. Reddit has massive subreddits dedicated just to Maura. YouTube has these incredibly detailed deep dives, hours long sometimes. TikTok simplifies things, maybe does reenactments. And podcasts like ours try to make sense of it all.
It's a whole ecosystem.
It really is a digital hive mind trying to solve a puzzle that has stumped professionals. Now, we need to be clear. We're not saying these theories are fact. They're speculation. Sometimes based on thin evidence, sometimes just conjecture. But looking at them shows how deeply people have dug into every detail, every possibility, from logical analysis to, sometimes wild guesses. It's amateur sleuthing on a massive scale. So let's get into some of the main theories that keep coming up.
Okay. One of the most common, and one that gained traction early on, is the idea of predatory abduction. That Maura accepted a ride after the crash and was killed by a stranger. The thinking goes, her car has crashed, she wants to avoid the police. Remember, she told Butch not to call them. So maybe in panic or desperation, she accepts a ride from the next person who stops.
Makes sense, given her actions.
Yeah, there's a common thought online, someone on Reddit put it well, that she hopped into a car moments after speaking with Butch, as she assumed police were on the way. She felt cornered, maybe. So the theory paints this picture of an opportunistic predator pulling up, maybe pretending to help, offering a warm car, preying on her vulnerability. And then the worst happens. Assault, murder. It's chilling because it feels plausible in that isolated setting.
Are there specific people theorized about?
Online, yes. Though it's pure speculation. Some point fingers at passing truckers, other locals. Even Butch, the bus driver, gets mentioned sometimes. Although, crucially, there's absolutely zero police evidence linking him. He was just the last known person to see her.
Right. Important distinction.
Very. But in this abduction scenario, the attacker vanishes with Maura, which would explain why no further trace was found near the crash site. They removed her and the evidence from the scene. It accounts for the speed and the lack of local evidence.
Okay, that's one major line of thought. But what about something less sinister, but still tragic? The idea she just wandered off.
Right, the exposure theory. That's another common one. The idea is she fled the scene on foot, maybe injured, maybe disoriented from the crash, or just panicked. She wanders into the dense woods nearby, and then, tragically, succumbs to hypothermia. Dies of exposure in the harsh winter conditions.
It fits the environment, right? It was freezing, snowy, remote. Seems like a straightforward, if grim, possibility. Doesn't require a third party.
It seems straightforward, yes. But this theory runs into a major wall. The searches.
The fact that they found nothing.
Exactly. Authorities conducted incredibly thorough searches. Snowmobiles, foot patrols covering a wide area. They talked to local hunters, hikers, people who know those woods inside out. And despite all that, not one extra footprint beyond the ones near the car. No discarded clothing, no personal items, and crucially, no remains. Ever.
That is deeply unsettling. You'd expect something to turn up eventually, wouldn't you? Even years later.
You absolutely would. Bones, clothing fragments, something. The complete lack of any discovery, despite exhaustive efforts, makes this simple explanation surprisingly hard to accept. It feels too clean for someone just getting lost and dying in the woods. That absence of evidence really works against it.
Okay, so abduction has its points. Exposure has major problems. What about the idea she wanted to disappear?
Ah, yes. The voluntary disappearance theory. This one gets a lot of airtime, largely because of Maura's actions before the crash. Proponents point to the secretive packing, the unexplained trip north, the lie in the email. It all looks like someone planning to leave.
And the potential motive. But there were rumors, right?
There were unconfirmed rumors, circulating online that she might have been pregnant. That's offered as a possible reason for wanting to escape her current life and start over, though, again, purely speculative.
And the money. The $280.
Exactly. The cash withdrawal fits this theory, too. Maybe that was her getaway fund. Some speculate she aimed for Canada, where she apparently had some family connections. Easy border crossing, maybe? Online folks also point out the complete lack of calls or transactions after the crash supports this. If she wanted to vanish, she'd know not to use traceable things like credit cards or phones. It would be the ultimate self-erasure.
20 years of silence. That's the sticking point, isn't it?
It's the massive sticking point. Critics rightly ask, how could she maintain absolute total silence for 2 decades? No bank activity, no hotel stays in her name, no confirmed sightings, nothing. In our digital world, living completely off the grid like that is incredibly difficult, almost impossible without leaving some kind of footprint.
And the money her dad had for the car.
Right. Her dad withdrew $4,000 to replace the car she'd crashed just days before. That money was never touched by Maura. If she was planning a financially motivated escape, why not access that? The sheer length and totality of the silence makes the voluntary disappearance theory seem really, really unlikely to most people now, including investigators. It requires believing she pulled off the perfect vanishing act flawlessly for decades.
It does seem improbable. Okay, so that leads us into the more, out there theories, the ones involving cults, conspiracies, cover-ups.
Yeah, these definitely fall into the more sensational category, often seen as fringe by officials. But they persist online because they try to explain the inexplicable, mainly the lack of a body.
And wasn't there something specific that fueled these, a search somewhere?
Yes, in 2019, this generated a lot of buzz. Acting on tips, possibly fueled by online sleuths, police searched an old farmhouse near the crash site on Route 112. And the findings were intriguing. Cadaver dogs alerted in the basement.
Wow. Okay.
And later analysis confirmed human blood was present on some wood chips found down there.
Human blood near the crash site.
Relatively near, yes. Naturally, online theorists jumped on this. Some wove it into narratives about secret rituals or a local cover-up where someone was hidden or disposed of there. The idea was maybe Maura was taken to this farmhouse after the crash, and this was the evidence. It connects dots, however, speculatively.
But what did the police say officially?
Officially, nothing conclusive. No charges were filed. The police haven't publicly linked that blood or the farmhouse directly to Maura Murray. It remains an ambiguous clue. But the fact that the search happened, based potentially on online leads, and they found something, it shows how deep the amateur investigations go and how desperate people are for any kind of break in the case, even if it leads to more questions than answers.
Right. So we have all these theories, all these possibilities. How do we even begin to evaluate them against the actual facts?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Evaluating these theories against the known facts and the lack of facts is the hardest part. And when you really look closely, the overarching conclusion is, well, every major theory has holes, significant gaps. None of them fit perfectly.
And the official view has shifted over time, too.
Definitely. As we said, police initially treated it as possibly voluntary. The packing, the email, the cash withdrawal pointed that way. No obvious signs of foul play right at the scene. But 20 years of silence, that changes things. Now, the lean is much more towards foul play, or at least an involuntary disappearance. The odds of someone staying hidden that long by choice are just vanishingly small.
So revisiting the abduction theory in that light, it seems more plausible now.
It lines better with the long-term silence, yes. And it resonates with the family. Maura's father has been quite vocal, believing only someone familiar with that remote area could have snatched her so quickly and hidden all trace. And the farmhouse findings, the blood, the dog alerts, while inconclusive, they offer some potential, albeit circumstantial, weight to the idea of foul play happening nearby. Critically, abduction does match the sudden vanishing right at the crash site and the lack of tracks leading far away. If she was put in a vehicle, that explains the footprint situation. It's a grim possibility, but it fits some key facts.
Okay, but what about the died in the woods idea? You said the lack of evidence from searches undermines it.
Massively undermines it. The searches were so thorough. Snowmobiles, foot patrols, interviews with locals who know that terrain intimately. Finding absolutely nothing. No footprints beyond the car, no clothing, no remains after 20 years makes it really hard to believe she just wandered off and succumbed nearby. You'd expect some trace eventually. That clean sweep argues against it.
And the runaway theory, besides the silence, what else works against it?
Well, besides the 2 decades of absolute silence, there's the untouched $4,000 her father had ready for her car. There's the lack of any digital footprint, no stray credit card charge, no social media flicker, nothing. And just think about it practically. If you meticulously plan to disappear, would you crash your car? Leave all your packed supplies and ID behind? It seems like a terrible plan if it was a plan at all.
That's a good point. It feels messy for a planned escape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it leads to that fundamental question. Can someone really disappear that cleanly in our hyper-connected age? Voluntarily. Leaving zero trace. It seems almost impossible.
Which brings us back to all those unanswered questions that just hang there. What did that basement evidence really mean? Anything? Why refuse help so adamantly? What was she so scared of?
Precisely. And the detective's quote you mentioned earlier really nails it. We don't know why Maura left school. She hadn't a destination in mind. What did not make sense was that she didn't confide in anyone.
That lack of confiding in anyone is huge. The secretive behavior, the missing calls, it all points to something going on, but we just don't know what.
And this is where we need that nuance and caution with the online stuff. Take Butch, the bus driver. He gets mentioned online, sometimes suspiciously. But again, zero police evidence points his way. Speculation can be harmful without facts.
Right.
And look at the logic flaws. If she planned to vanish, leaving the car and ID makes no sense. If she was abducted, how is it done so quickly with no struggle signs? If she wandered off, where's the evidence? Official investigations have hit a wall due to lack of new evidence. The Oxygen Special covered this. They looked at everything, police work, family tips, nothing broke the case open. The only thing we know for sure, something happened right after that crash, something that made Maura Murray disappear.
So our deep dive really underscores the need for calm scrutiny, doesn't it? Looking at the clues, the official ones and the online ones, with a clear head. Among all the Reddit threads, all the podcasts, the most compelling ideas tend to be the ones with at least some grounding in evidence, not just pure guesswork. Abduction fits the sudden vanishing and lack of tracks. That's its strength. But the voluntary theory, it just strains credulity after 20 years of absolute silence. It requires too much belief without proof. Whatever thread of truth exists in Maura Murray's vanishing, it has so far eluded us all. How someone can just be gone. And her case, happening right as the internet age was dawning, maybe represents one of the last times someone could vanish so cleanly, before digital trails became almost impossible to avoid. It feels like a case from another era, almost. All we can do is wait, hope for new evidence, a new witness, and treat every clue, every theory with both openness and skepticism. Because the truth, whatever it is still out there. Thank you for joining us on this first episode of Threads of Truth. Maura Murray's case is both heartbreaking and mystifying reminder that real lives are behind every headline and forum post. We hope that this deep dive has shed light on the known facts and the wild speculation alike, while honoring the memory of Maura and the hope of her family. If you found this exploration compelling, please subscribe and share Threads of Truth. We also invite you to share your own thoughts and theories on Reddit, TikTok, or Instagram. Let's keep the conversation going respectfully. Next time on Threads of Truth, we unravel one of the most watched mystery cases of the last decade, the strange and tragic death of Elisa Lam. Surveillance footage, a haunted hotel, and internet obsession collide in a case that still captivates sleuths worldwide. Don't miss it.